A little behind the scenes. I'm recording this now. What is today? Today is Sunday, February the 1st. I'm recording this as a video exclusive, knowing darn well behind the scenes over there's a pile of episodes already planned out, some already recorded for Saturday monologue. So I'll use this video exclusive as a Saturday monologue. But it looks by April or May, potentially, I'll be reusing this video exclusive across the 25 plus audio channels. But for now, it's video exclusive. And what's it about? I'm holding up, I just printed out old thelibertybeacon.com piece I wrote, Rising Tides Lifts All Boats. Now, if you remember, JFK understood that when he enacted, before the Laffer curve was ever fully researched and fully defined to be true, lowering taxes to a right sweet spot actually increases revenue to the Treasury, not lowers it. And indeed, spurring economic growth, which I have to correct the phrase now, a rising tide lifts most boats, not all boats. What am I talking about? Well, remember, Christ said the poor will always be among you. That was not a governance statement nor an economic statement. It was a human nature statement. There will be some who are never willing to help themselves. And indeed, the Bible does not say God helps those who help themselves, but it is properly contextually implied. We are expected to take care of our brothers and sisters, be our brothers and sisters' keeper, and take care of widows and orphans. But the Bible also says there is a distinction and a difference between those who are unable to help themselves and those who are unwilling to help themselves. Back to Jesus, the poor will always be among you. There will always be some who don't want to do anything, who just by their presence, a degree of sin of hubris, are expected that you take care of them. That is different than Jesus and godly charity, helping those who are unable to help themselves. There is a big difference and distinction in those. So rising tide lifts most boats because there will be always some, and we see it today, especially with the TDS. No, I'm not going to let you improve my economic situation. GDP growth off the chart compared to Democrat years, Democrat policy years. Wages up, inflation rate way down versus the Biden stagflation days yet again. No, I refuse to acknowledge reality. There will always be some out of TDS and whatnot who will sabotage their own boats. So a rising tide can't lift all boats. It lifts most boats by osmosis. Bad word choice there, but I think you know what I mean, right? The rising tide helps to float up even the heaviest of boats, damaged boats, as long as you haven't self-sabotaged and drilled holes in your own boat. And guess what? If you've done that, leftard, your boat deserves to sink. Even Jesus recognized that. Again, the poor will always be among you. He is acknowledging God-given free will and the stupidity of some humans who will self-sabotage themselves. And we have zero obligation to those who self-sabotage their own boats, those who are unwilling to help themselves, those who will engage in a self-sabotage, again, for lack of any better word, prevent their own improvement of their own well-being because they want to maintain a delusion. Oh my God, TDS, Trump is Hitler. Trump is destroying everything. Trump, 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 Trump. Never mind their own paycheck and the taxes going down. Tax cuts for the rich. What rich do you know got rich over working a bunch of overtime and their overtime pay now exempt, or some of it, maybe most of it, for many, all of it exempted from tax? They didn't get rich off that. That's not how they got rich. Most of them did through investment income, not overtime pay. And the cut, no tax on Social Security. Well, I'm on disability. My Social Security has been exempt already for ages. Still more will be exempt. I'm all for taxing those who have 401k and investment income and other pension income on top of Social Security. Social Security was meant for those who don't have the other things. And yes, I had a 401k, but when I became disabled, that money I had was no longer working 20 years prior to when I was planning to retire, so it was nowhere near enough funds to help get me by. Those funds dried up very quickly, so I am solely on Social Security now. It isn't as if I didn't intend to have other income. I wasn't working a job where I would have a pension. My dad, thankfully, retired GM, RIP now, of course, Dad, but got a pension from a reduced pension because GM went through bankruptcy, but a pension nonetheless. It's impossible for corporations to pay people to not work. Pensions are a thing of the past. I recognize that. But those who are getting pensions and 401k dividends, part of their Social Security being taxed, I have no problem with, because Social Security was meant for those who had nothing, a safety net, not a safety hammock. But back to rising tide lifts most boats. Again, if you're self-sabotaging your own boat, sorry, I've got no sympathy for you. If you refuse, again, the tax cuts for the rich, no tax on tips. What rich person do you know became a millionaire and a billionaire based on tips? And yes, I think there should be a cap. If you're working at a high-end place like the French Laundry, where Gavin Gruscom defied his own lockdowns and got together with his friends and partied while you were all locked down, they make much bigger tips and have a much bigger middle class income than the average person making tips at, just random thought, the local big boy, which I'm a regular at, or Frank's Pizza, no longer there. It's now True Pizza. We haven't tried them yet. But the average waiter or waitress tips, they don't get rich off them. There are some who make, though tips, in my opinion, capped at the first 25,000 of tips or 35,000. There should be a cap. If you're making 100 grand in tips, yes, some of that should be taxed. But the point being, tax cuts for the rich, lie of the left, of course, as always. They lie, they lie, they lie. All they can do is lie. But even JFK knew tax cuts mean more economic growth, which actually lands up meaning more money into the treasury, not less, as as long as you factor properly the Laffer curve realities. So I'm going to start to wrap it up. I went down a few extra rabbit holes, but yes, a rising tide lifts most boats is the proper saying. Not all, because there will always be some who sabotage their own boat. And to be able to claim, oh, look, Trump ain't helping me. No, you prevented the good policy from helping you, or you're just lying that it isn't helping you. You getting to keep more of your own money in your pocket due to the Trump tax cuts. You lie. The wages going up better, greater than the rate of inflation, which was not the case under Biden. You may have got another piece. BeforeIt'sNews.com. Is the number 6 always better than the number 3? No. Accounting 101. You have to look at both the debits and the credits side of the ledger. And pardon me, I'm going to grab my water. I got to pull a Marco Rubio here. I'm very dry. Hold on just a sec. Needed some water there. Okay. The number 6 under Joseph Robinette Biden, you may have gotten a 6% raise. But guess what? When inflation was 9, 10, 15, over the last 4 years, the cumulative inflation was over 30%. You lost money. Under Trump's first term, you may have only gotten a 2.5% salary increase, but you gained ground, or a 3% raise, because the rate of inflation was 2%. That meant you gained buying power. You were ahead. So the 3% raise under Trump was better than the 6% raise under Biden. You have to use common sense, logic, reason, and look at taking Accounting 101 class, a basic economics class. This is why the left doesn't want it taught in school. Again, thelibertybeacon.com, school reforms needed now. Check out that article too. I'll open that rabbit hole here. No civics, no history, no economics, no accounting. So people don't know anything. So the number 3 in that case is better than the number 6, because your increase actually was higher than the rate of inflation. You gained buying power rather than the Biden years where you lost buying power. People, use your brain and know the left lies. They're doing better also, but they're never going to admit it. They lie. They have to lie. Facts are never on their side. So, is it rising tide lifts all boats? No, it really isn't. Rising tide lifts most boats. That's the more accurate way to say that. I am recording this today on Sunday, February the 1st. Again, will air as a video exclusive soon. It will air as a standard episode March or April or something. I probably should do this in April, right? Tax return time, when people are getting their bigger refunds back. And that's another thing. Adjust your withholding. Why are you giving your money to the government when you could, should be keeping it in your paycheck year round rather than just getting a bigger return back in April? Unless some people, I get it, they use it as a savings plan. I foolishly did that for a while, and then I changed my exemptions to a higher amount of exemptions as I went up the economic ladder. So less was taken out of my check, and yeah, we got smaller refunds. Well, Putting it in a 1% interest-bearing account is better than giving it to the government and you getting 0% interest on that money that they're playing with while they hold it before they're not going to give you any interest. Even a 1% savings account is giving you interest on that money. At any rate, that's a whole other discussion. But again, people don't grasp it because we don't teach basic economics and basic accounting in school. So a rising tide does lift most boats, and it can't lift those who people are drilling holes in their own boat. And sorry, if you're doing that, if you're a liar, if you're a cheat, if you refuse to acknowledge this, you deserve to have your boat sink. Tough luck. Too bad. As Jesus said, the poor will always be among. If you're unwilling to bother to help yourself, too bad. We don't have an obligation to feel sorry for you. Take care. God bless. Love you all.